As an immigrant, one of the saddest truths I've learned about life is sometimes your own people are more racist to you and mean to you. In 2012, we left Pakistan because of terrorism and threat to my family. It was a dark time. I moved there without knowing much English, couldn't string 2 3 sentences together, and that makes you feel very inferior. You wonder if you can make any friends. You wonder how you're going to do in the education system, especially, finally in my education system in Pakistan, I started to do well. Like most of my academic career, I was a dumb student, and I started to finally do well, and boom, I've been chucked into the middle of the ocean, aka UK, not being able to string any sentences together. You feel very alienated. You feel inferior. You feel dumb. This is what I felt like. I remember this one time when I wanted to see my sister at the hospital, and I asked the lady outside the hospital if she could open the door for me. So everything was so technologically advanced that I just didn't even know how to open the door. And she gave me this very demeaning look. I felt very belittled, and that's when I realized that I've lost home, and life is gonna be very tough. When I joined the school, I couldn't even, I was so scared of speaking because I thought someone would make fun of how I speak, and I might mispronounce a word, or I might say in a funny way. To an extent, those fears I had did come to reality as time went on. Sometimes hiding behind the excuse of, oh, it's just a joke. Someone will make fun of your accent, or like call you fresh. And, you don't really understand these terms, like how belittling they are and how unnecessary they are. What was sad was that most of these comments came from fellow British Pakistanis. I feel like our people have this inferiority complex where we view the British and the Western societies as superior. That, oh, it's cool to have a British accent. It's cool to like dress up in jeans and shirt. Like, I have no problem of like people wearing jeans, sounding British. I have no problem with this stuff. But don't be mean to the person who's just literally lost their home because of terrorism, poverty. They come over here and you start bullying them because they don't sound like you. It got me thinking that if these kids, right, they bully these immigrants for their accents, what do they think of their parents? Because their parents are immigrants too. If I'm a freshie, what does that make your parents? I feel like nowadays, especially in the social media age, we care more about how we sound than what we actually say, or how we look than who we actually are. And this is only gonna harm us. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's only gonna harm us. This inferiority complex is, when we're gonna limit ourselves to which jobs we apply to. We're not gonna dream big because we're like, oh, we're just Pakistanis. Like, oh, who are we to dream big? Or look down on, have a superiority complex as well. Oh, I'm better than him. I'm worse than him. Like, it's in God's eye, we all are one. So, and we all gonna go to grave someday. No one's better than another person. What I've noticed is if someone has a superiority complex, they also have inferiority complex. You can't have one without the other. Me coming from Pakistan, I saw it as a bigger disadvantage. I thought it made me weaker because I looked at the lives of these British kids and how well they were brought up. They hadn't seen a civil war in their country. They hadn't heard a bomb blast go a couple miles away, schools being blown up, leaving your home for 3 months, being a refugee in your own country. All of these dark things, right? And I was like, wow. Like, I was kind of jealous of these kids. I'm like, you guys have had such a beautiful, comfortable life. But then I realized that my experiences, my dark experiences, my past, actually gave me an advantage. It gave me a perspective. It doesn't make me better than them, but I'm saying it gave me more. It gave me a larger perspective on life, that I didn't care as much about superficial things that a lot of these kids were caring about. I took my studies more seriously because I knew how important and scarce education was. It was very difficult to do well in school because, the education system had completely changed for me. There was a lot more critical thinking. I had to do maths, all of these science, all these subjects, not in my second or first language, but in English. And the English was also quite different, quite advanced for me. I had to work extremely hard, and that hard work paid off. I ended up doing well in my GCSEs. And I just want to speak to any immigrant that might be listening. I just want to tell you that your trauma, all of these things are holding you back. And yes, to an extent, they will hold you back. But they will also, your trauma will give you drive, and it will give you a perspective that many people don't have. It's very important to actually make good friends. I joined in year 8, the secondary British education system. And a lot of kids care about being cool, having a lot of friends. And I almost fell into that trap, but I always knew that it's more important to have meaningful friendships. Having a small circle, that's more important than being just a cool kid. And initially I wasn't, the cool kids didn't want to hang out with me or talk to me, all of these things, right? And I realized that, do I really want to, like later on when I became, let's say, cool, when I became smarter, I became more athletic, all of these things, I never cared that much about their approval then because I knew how conditional it was. The friends I had that weren't considered cool, they were there with me through the difficult times. So my advice would be, don't chase shiny objects, work hard, and your background and your perspective that you have on life is an advantage, and your uniqueness, your accent is a beautiful thing. I don't want you to look at it as a, as a disadvantage. Imagine a world where everyone sounded the same. It would be very boring. If everyone sounded the same, everyone looked the same. So we need to embrace each other's uniqueness. We're humans. Of course we're going to be different. And people who want you to be like them, well, they're not the right people for you. They're not your friends. So I hope you learned something from my experience. If you need any help or support, drop a comment. If you need any advice on, how to do well in GCSEs, A levels, or just in life in general, I'm more than happy to help. And thank you for listening. All the best.